It wasn't always pretty, but Manchester United pick up their first win of the season in a scrappy 3-2 win against Burnley at Old Trafford. Let's break down this slugfest. Like I said, sir, it was not pretty. United made a meal of it. Should have been an easy stroll after we dominated the chance creation in the first half, but somehow this is Manchester United. We made a meal of it. Got bailed out late with a penalty to Bruno Fernandes for a pull down on Amad Diallo in the box on the edge. But either way, take it. 3 points headed into the international break. Transfer windows about to close. Could have been better, but I'll take it. Needed a win. Got the win.
Look, 3 points. That's all that matters for this team. When you don't have a win in the league, you get a win. It doesn't matter. That, we could break it down. That was a crazy live stream we had on our YouTube channel. If you're listening, iTunes or Spotify, get over, check out our YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the American Red Devils because this is going to be a hell of a season. And we got to buckle in because we got a manager under fire. We got a locker room under fire. Burnley, like huffing and puffing at Old Trafford, is taking Bruno penalty at the death to get out of jail. We do. It's international break, and it's very important this week. It's been a hectic start. I thought we would do a little better against Grimsby and Burnley, to be honest, but we are here, and we got to retool. And this manager, he needs to go for long walks and compose himself before he sits in front of the microphone at press conferences because he could do better at saying he wants to quit this job. And then there's rumors from the rags, we're not putting any stake in them, that he wants to quit this job. So we want him to stay. We want everyone to touch some grass, relax, put Burnley behind us. If we end up competing for, the top 5 spots in the league, no one's going to remember Burnley. If we put together, no one's going to remember Burnley. But if we're having another manager get fired, we probably will remember Burnley.
Probably will. This will be the beginning of the end of something because right now we're a little bit in survival football. We did not start the season the way we wanted after so much promise, even in that loss against Arsenal, getting pulled down to earth with Fulham and Grimsby. And if we were to have a defeat yesterday against Burnley, it would have been catastrophic because at the end of the day, United needed a win. They're playing at home. And they had the chance to win. We had every chance to put this game away early. We should have had 3 goals in the first 15 minutes. And it took, once again, another own goal, amazingly so, for Manchester United to even get ahead in the first place. But we got the win. It wasn't pretty, but there are encouraging sides, but there's still issues. There's good and there's bad from this performance. The manager is making me nervous because he needs to, like you said, calm down. Everybody needs to calm down. We need to lower the temperature because this is a long season. It's not even September 1st. And we need to relax. We need to relax.
Calma.
We got to win. We're in the top half of the table. Let's get to 11, sir. Let's break down this 3-2 win against Burnley the Builders at Old Trafford in the Premier League.
Let's get into the Burnley recap. I don't want to relive it. It was an electric chair type of match, but here we are. We had Bayindir in net. You'll remember that one because he's shipping goals for this club. Euro, Dalit, Shaw, back 3. Diallo, right wing back. Casemiro, Bruno, midfield, returns. Diego Dalot on the left side. That's the first time we've seen him play left wing back. Mbumo, Mount, Cunha. Sesko on the bench, not ready to start versus Burnley. Sir, what'd you make of this 11?
Only 2 days rest from the lads. It was a Saturday game. We played on Wednesday, and we played a hard-fought game in League Two. Some big changes, like you said. Bayindir stays in net. I think that was the right move. He is probably the number 1 at the moment. As much as he's shipping goals, he looks more steady Eddie, even from a passing perspective, than Andre Onana has. His passing's actually been okay. His defending, his set-piece defending has not been okay. And then otherwise, I would have liked to see Šeško start, but I understand what he's trying to do from a pressing perspective with that front 3. Casemiro is the 6. And then the other one that didn't, that I was surprised or not surprised, but the change was Dogu behind Dalot. I really favored Dogu, but, he played a big game the other day, played some minutes in that, so I could see the sub. And Dalot actually was effective. He had that big assist for Brian Mbumo's goal. So let's get into this game, sir. It was, you said it, it was a slugfest, especially at times, especially in the second half. But United came out of the gates hot. We created a slew of chances early, but we failed to convert. 15th minute, Bruno finds Mbumo well with a great switch pass. And Brian cut back well and forces Dubrovka into a great save. And then Mbumo went wide just again from the corner. And then right after that, sir, Mason Mount is dragged down in the box. But VAR actually interestingly intervenes. He got the better of Kyle Walker, former City Blue. 2 families, twice as good. Kyle Walker. I thought this was a pen. He beat him. He beat him positionally. And then Kyle Walker pulls him back, and then they're both kind of grabbing at each other. He goes down in the box. The only thing I thought they were looking at is if it was on the edge of the box, and they just overturned it. It wasn't even a foul. I thought this was insane because in the modern era, this is a at least a foul, but got overturned.
Yeah, it took 17 minutes for VAR to get involved in this match. And in Fulham versus Chelsea, they just had to apologize for getting that wrong where they disallowed a Fulham goal. So the PGMOL not starting well, VAR not starting well, in my opinion, getting way too involved in these types of situations with referee on the field calls it. It's not clear and obvious. It isn't a foul. I mean, there's contact. It's right there in the box. Mount goes down. Ref calls it. How is it clear and obvious? And so we have to get into the proper definition of when VAR should get involved. And this, for me, stonewall penalty as called by the referee. There's nothing to overturn for VAR. And they overturn it as it not being a foul. And can you really make an argument for that? Not really. So we have to stick to the referee call on the field. And VAR has to stop jumping into these games and messing things up because it's a bad start to the season. It feels like VAR kind of faded away last year into the final run, and they always kind of sorted out and fixed it, and now it's starting real strong.
It started real strong, and it's having too much of an influence in this game. If you look at the two big VAR calls, and there was an offsides one for Burnley in the second half. We'll get into that later. But this one should have never been overturned, and arguably we should have gotten the late penalty. And those should have just evened out. United still win, but there was too much VAR involvement. It took a while. I mean, this was like a 5-minute call. So anyway, VAR.
It's a waste of time. It doesn't add any value in the game. And like, show me where it's clear and obvious. Show me that two people can't watch that video and disagree on it. And if that's the case, then it's not clear and obvious. And so, sir, United would get a breakthrough. Not quite a goal, but another own goal for Manchester United. Great free kick from Bruno Fernandes.
It's the near post, isn't it? Whipped in. That pace on it.
Fernandes to clip it in off the crossbar, and then Dubravka did it cross the line. Sam Barron looks at his watch. Goal for Manchester United.
Hey,
the ref look cooked. The ref looks like he's shut down.
Little ping pong moment. Great cross. Perfect header from Casemiro off the crossbar, off Burnley, in the net. Needed that one. It was 1-0 to Manchester United.
And we're still very fragile defensively, defending from set pieces, but we've looked much more threatening from corners, from set pieces. It's a good ball in. It's a nice header. We know how good Casemiro is in the air. We get a bit of luck. United needs a bit of luck, but you also make it. And then, unfortunately, luck goes the other way. In the 31st minute, Sir Xerxes came in for the injured Cunha. Really disappointing to see. He pulled up. You knew immediately it was a muscle injury, likely a hamstring. And he was really dangerous in that first half until he got subbed off. Him and Bumo are a great complement to each other on either sides of the wing. So that's something to keep an eye on because he's a real player that we need, given the fact that goals and scoring goals is probably one of the biggest challenges we have at the moment.
Haven't gotten the official update, but he was walking fine coming out of the stadium, which is a good sign, and he's not going on international duty with Brazil, so hopefully he rests up. Maybe 3 to 4 weeks, he'll be back in service. Xerxes comes on for Cunha. This is a little controversial because Cunha is playing the number 9. You have Sesko on the bench. I mean, he wants to maybe go with that 3-10s view, and I just don't really get that from Amrabat. I think now you just bring on Sesko. Why'd you sign Sesko if you don't want to be playing with the number 9? It seems like the manager doesn't want to play with the number 9. It's tactics that is driving this decision. Again, we can get to that maybe in the post-game presser, but the manager a little stubborn tactically here. 40th minute, Mount flicks a header off the crossbar, and a lot of stoppage time because of VAR in the first half. Ahmad makes it 2. A nice break involving Xerxes and Bumo and Ahmad, but he slices it wide.
Sorry, Ahmad should have made it 2. He had a big chance in stoppage time, sir. We're getting the notes wrong. But this was a big one. Him and Cunha, next to him and Mbumo, linking up with Bruno well. Open chance of goal.
No, but it's full speed. He decided to take it on his left instead of his right. It wasn't a tap in. It was like a fizzed pass across the 18-yard box, and like he should do better. It should be on target at least, but like I'm not a guaranteed goal. And then this one for me, Xerxes free on goal should score, but he kind of tried to go for the fake touch dive. This is where you put Sesko on. He's a poacher. Like he might not score there, but it's a great chance in the box, and Sesko's a poacher. I think he does much better than Xerxes. That's why I question the Xerxes for Cunha move in the 31st minute.
And he needs reps, right? He's a young striker. You know, there are not going to be many teams worse in the EPL for him to go against than Burnley. I know they're a physical side, but he's got to get used to that as well. So he could have used the reps. I think he would have gotten... He got some chances later on.
It wasn't come on. He didn't come on and look as dynamic as Sesko did. I think it's very clear that like that sub should be called into question from the manager, especially with the money spent on Sesko. Second half, look, United come out with far less control. We've seen this movie before. Burnley growing into the game, and the manager would talk about that later on. There was a sub Manu for Mount. Could be injury related, but Kobe Manu was warming up at halftime and comes on. What'd you make of this move?
I hope it's not an injury. I hope it's tactical. I thought Manu was effective. He was dynamic. He was better when he dropped deep. But he still has a role to play. I mean, the big thing was like, let's not send him on loan. There's a lot of noise around that. His request to go on loan that's been denied by Manchester United. We'll get into that in the news section later in the pod. But he's a player. He's a player of the future. We know how good he is in the midfield. So it was just good to see him involved in that match.
Then Burnley, they would make it too. So at the end of they would score a goal and they would equalize.
Back into Cullen. Burnley happy to play it patient, and they've worked it well here. Bruno Fernandes with all kinds of room. Foster's there! 1-1!
Wait, is that shit defending back for Manchester United? Where have I seen that before?
Shaw caught in no man's land. And if you look at, there's another goal that we got away with, the one where VAR returned it. We'll talk about that in a second. Shaw was once again caught out. He was caught out in the Europa League final. He was actually the one that was culpable even before the goalie made a meal of it. And he's looked a little off the pace. I don't know how Emi Martínez coming back. I think he takes that spot right away from Luke Shaw, because if you've watched this game, he had a couple not so great moments in that second half. He's got to do better. He's sitting in no man's land. The attacker is wide open. Can't be there. Can't happen.
The good news is United would get one back shortly thereafter.
Brilliant from Bruno Fernandes to find him inside the penalty area. As Dallo now goes on the charge. And a childhood dream comes true for Brian Mbeumo. Instant response by Manchester United.
That's what the doctor ordered. You need the instant response at home because, Burnley should be easy, should be controlled. We should be able to dispatch this team with confidence, not sweat it, get the kids on the pitch. That's what this is all about.
You want to roll. I mean, every game shouldn't be heart attack city. Every game for Manchester United, we're always making it harder than it needs. Today was way harder than it needed to be. I mean, we'll get into it in a second. But it should have been routine stuff. It's a nice goal for Manchester United. When's the last time you saw a score from a drop kick? As soon as we got the ball back after they scored, we went down the field and scored within 15 seconds. I have not seen that in years for Manchester United. It's a nice kick once again from Bayindir. That's the one thing he does well. He might make a decent backup if you get someone in front of him, because at least he could do that. Xerxes with a nice flick on. Delo beats his man for pace, and Mbeumo does so well to find that pocket of space and make sure he's in a position to hammer it home. That is why you signed him. Good goal for him. He's off and running. First open field goal, really, for Manchester United, definitely in the EPL, and Mbeumo gets his second goal of the season. He's off and running. He's a player.
And then 2 minutes later, when we talk about having control of a game, Burnley score. It is overruled. It is offside, called offside on the field by the referee. Then VAR, check it. Then they show you the image. Everyone is yelling at each other online about this image. Look, it's offside. If it's called on the field, off. And then you look at what VAR showed you in the image, it's off. So there's no debate whether or not it was off. The question that all fans should have is that the best we got? Because imagine if you're Manchester United, because what it comes down to is where they draw the lines on the hypothetical figures. And so I'm always used to them drawing the line right at the shoulder, and then it looks like they're drawing it at part of the sleeve. So it's where on the sleeve are they drawing it? And on Delo, they drew it on one part of the sleeve, and then on the Burnley player, it was on a different part of the. So how are you determining how much of the sleeve you're getting? And if these are the margins that the new assisted offside is giving us, and you look at the image and you have more questions, it's a joke. And that's what we're trying to say. VAR is a joke right now. It's a theme we want to go away. We never want to talk about it, but glad this is offsides. Manchester United caught out. Casemiro, tired legs, midfield wide open. When Mano came on, he was venturing forward. Cass was left isolated. Again, this midfield that we struggled with against Grimsby Town, we got away with one here, right? We were vulnerable. They took us to the sword. It was overruled by a half an inch, but we're seeing patterns of play and issues with this team where we're wide open against bad opposition.
And this was the most vulnerable Manchester United was from the beginning of the second half until Casemiro gets hooked and they switch around the midfield a little bit. United was open. We were vulnerable in possession. There were huge pockets in the midfield. And it's very, very clear what needs to be fixed going forward this season if it's going to be better than last season, sir. Better than last season. That's the goal. There was a good chance for Bruno Fernandes. He sliced it wide right after this. And then Burnley, they got their tying goal in the 66th minute.
God, Burnley. Good
This
old
goal.
Burnley.
Another goalie error.
Burnley get the first contact and it breaks at the back post. Bayern makes the save, but they're level again. Jade and Antony, sharpest on the scene.
If this doesn't piss you off as a United fan, I don't know what does. Look, everyone is pumped about getting the last minute win, but like, come on, Burnley. It's just Burnley. You know, we have to be like, at a certain point, you got to say, hey, manager, he reacts. 72nd minute sub Sesko for Casemiro. And then 85th minute, he put on Maz for Euro. I thought Maz had some juice, which is good. And Bumo, he has a great cross in for Sesko in 86th minute. He gets up, couldn't get down on it, but you saw the leaps. He's very dynamic. Sesko gives you a different look as far as scoring goals, so that should be promising. And then we're all going to be talking about the 97th minute penalty. Jersey tug on Ahmad. VAR intervenes. Not called on the field, and Bruno would get a chance to win it in the 97th minute.
Could be a penalty.
After review, Burnley 11
NFL
has a sustained pulling action on Man United 16, which results in a penalty kick. My final decision is yellow card and penalty.
Against Dubravka, 7 minutes into stoppage time. Bruno Fernandes steps up. There's your captain. Surely a match winner for Manchester United. And is this the kickstart for Ruben Amorim?
Have you heard that before? Hey, kickstart for Ole, kickstart for Eric Ten Hag.
Look, great win. You need 3 points at all costs, especially heading into international break. Otherwise, this club would be getting killed. Bruno off the mark for United is what we needed. For me, if you look at VAR and how it was just way too involved in this game, I don't like it. The Ahmad jersey tug, my only notes on it is, how do they know that's inside or outside of the box? It has to be clear and obvious. If that jersey tug is against United, you're going to say it's outside the box. If that it goes the other way, right? And so for me, clear and obvious is it's in the box, and then you would call a pen that could change the game. For me, it's like right on the border, and I don't know if that's clear and obvious. And so that's kind of where, like, I'll take it as a Muppet all day. We get the 3 points. We need that more than anything. If we came out Drosser, we're talking firing Amrabat, presses all over us, players are falling out, leaking to the press. We do not need that as fans, but I'm just saying this VAR thing has got me nervous just for the rest of the season. We're the benefactors now. But it's got me nervous.
It cuts both ways, and you know,
exactly.
we've seen it cut both ways, and it's getting too involved. And this was this is the worst of it, because it shouldn't have got involved with the Mount. It shouldn't have got involved with the Mod. Those should have canceled each other out. I mean, this is a foul of the modern era, unfortunately now, because there's like a lot of dive in and a lot of post-mortems where they're giving out penalties. I want less intervention from VAR. It should be there just as like checking, foul play, or like a really egregious handball that no one caught in the field, or double checking the offsides, which should be automated as well. Less is more as it relates to interventions of VAR. It made a meal of this game. It's making a meal.
The Mount penalty getting overturned is wrong, right? So I view it like for like, where Mount should have had a penalty because it was called penalty on the field, and the Ahmad foul is probably not a penalty because you don't know if it's in the box or not, and Manchester United win 3-2. So I think it all worked out in the end. There was just a lot of time spent, like however many, 10, 15 minutes of the game was with a ref going to the monitor and now announcing it like the NFL. But let's get into the stat sheet. 26 shots to United, dominated the score sheet. I think this is where all the Muppets are really... all the Muppets are putting this on the table, be like, no, we didn't struggle against Burnley. We weren't wide open. We create a lot of chances. 6 on target, 62% of the ball. We dominated them on the score sheet, but it was a wide open game, and we did struggle to get it over the line against Burnley. And so for me, the vibes, 3 points all day, but you got to be looking at the brass tacks, and that's why we're going to be looking at the tactical teardown for Manchester United versus Burnley. We're talking about that midfield. That midfield against Grimsby Town was an issue. When you're looking at the 2 versus a 3 and the overload and Amorim's system, we're getting run through by bad teams. How does that happen? Well, for Manchester United against Burnley, it happened when Kobe Mainoo came onto the field at halftime. Kobe Mainoo was sitting in the 2 in Casemiro, but what? He plays more of that shaded 10 role, more of an 8. He was getting up the field with Bruno, getting adventurous, and we had a leggy Casemiro. He only has 60 minutes of legs, and it was pushing on into that red zone. Casemiro was very leggy, and with Ahmad and Mbeumo going up the field, Bruno dropping deep and playing some very aggressive passes and turning over the ball, it put Casemiro like 1v2, 1v3, and we were exposed going the other way. That's where Burnley got that third goal that it was overturned by VAR. Now, Amrabat did make the adjustment. He swapped out Casemiro for Sesko, and Mainu ended up sitting in the proper 6. And when Mainu had to sit in the 6, he played amazing. He was tracking back, winning the ball. You can look at the stat sheet. But Manchester United really struggling to get a grip of the midfield against Grimsby and Burnley. For me, is a red flag. It's why we need to break glass, emergency only, sign a midfielder. We need a midfielder because this role is going to be so critical for this team, and it shows in the average positioning as well. Manchester United basically has like no players in the center of the pitch versus Burnley, and I have to emphasize Burnley, Burnley, Burnley.
And the two big things, I think there's three big issues right now with Manchester United. There is our inability to score goals today or yesterday. We created a lot of chances, but the efficiency was not nearly good enough. 26 shots, 6 on target is not good enough. You need to be having twice that on target because we were skying the ball. We were creating really good chances for our players, and they were just not efficient enough in front of net. So that's number one issue, something we need to fix, something we need to improve on. The boys got to find the back of the net. The midfield, the holes in the midfield, you saw that today for 30 minutes of it in the second half, really, really exposed. We didn't get, didn't sink us. And then the goalie issue once again, right? Another goalie error. Bayern should be doing better. They shouldn't get that second one in the first place. They're only going to fix one of them. They're only going to address one of them one day left. That's a maybe. And it doesn't look like it's going to be midfielder. All the noise we're hearing, we'll get into in a second, it's goalkeeper.
Yeah, but let's remember, this isn't Burnley away. This isn't like Burnley away with a 2 to 3 day turnaround. Totally makes sense. Drag them out, win at all cost performance. This is Burnley at home. This team is back against the wall, kind of fading, and we needed a total 90-minute performance. And for me, Manchester United, what we have lacked is consistency. This team is not consistent. We had a great performance against Arsenal, took our foot off the gas against Fulham. I don't know what Grimsby Town was, sir. You can come up with a lot of expletives for that. But this Burnley game wasn't it either. It was like a juicy 15, a fadeaway. Like, obviously, VAR kind of screwing us there. But, like, the second half adjustments and how much of a meal we made out of the game. EPL is all about control. When you talked about creating the chances, you have to do it with control of the game. I felt like with Arsenal, we had control of the game, especially at home, and you're getting chances and you're not giving away a lot. And we gave away a lot to get a lot against Burnley, and that game was a roller coaster, and I hope it leads to Manchester United kicking on, getting a lot of good vibes, and retooling during this international break.
It's a big one for us because sometimes you just need a result, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Performance, I want it to be better. I mean, we should have been up 3-0 in the first half and just been comma, control throughout the second half and just trying to see out the game. We were frantic. We're still playing like on fucking roller skates sometimes. So Manchester United has to get a grip of things, but we needed a win. We just needed a little cloud cover. I mean, the manager was under fire and we were in August. I don't think any Manchester United fan around the world wants another manager change right now. We've seen enough of that. We want some stability, and United just needed a little bit of breathing space. Let's see if the manager has some breathing space. Let's hear from Ruben Amourim and his post-match presser.
Speaking of Kalma, Ruben Amourim.
Your overriding feelings after that game and how it ended?
He ended well. I think we deserved in the end to win the game. I think we create a lot of chances. We should go to the halftime with a bigger advantage, and then everything in this moment, every possession near our box, they can score, and we are in that moment. So we stuff, always chasing a lot of things, but we deserve, and we try until the last minute to score goals. We had our chances, and in the end, we deserve the win.
I just ask you about Mason Mount and Matthias Cunha, how they are.
I don't know. We will check them. We need that guys really bad to be really competitive.
Well,
you said yesterday, Ruben, that sometimes you love your players and sometimes you hate them. Sometimes a bit in the middle. I imagine you went through all of that.
Yes, some moments, but when they put the effort, I will always love them. Even when Ahmad is missing that kind of goal, I love Ahmad. I
don't know if you need to say that, but yeah,
he should have ChatGPT do his answers. Like Mount is hurt, so he said that. That sucks. Hurt again.
No, he didn't. He said he didn't know.
But he wasn't pulled off for tactics. Is all.
Of course. Yeah.
And he's like he needs to have. I'm telling you, he should like get coaching, Manchester United should pay for his coaching. He's just like handling the press.
It's different. Europeans, it's just different. They like to, there's a little
open,
more.
Man.
There's
Portuguese, emotional.
There's more press brinksmanship. I think Mourinho brought into the culture where it's like you say these like really, like I don't know.
He had deep shit.
He says deep things in a presser, and I just feel like everyone's going for that. It's all kind of, and U.S. is just like, yep, trying harder.
Give him
on
nothing. Yeah, try hard.
We're gonna watch the tape. Can't comment until we watch the tape. Then
Next
I'll
game.
get back to you. Like literally,
Nothing.
like
Give
they literally say nothing in NFL pressers. And I think Amrabat needs to go to MetLife Stadium, learn from like the New York Giants head coach. Just like I gotta watch the tape. Can't comment on it.
Or even Unai Emery. That was like great. Yeah, like we'll get to that in a second about the goalkeeper hunt. Give them nothing. Like don't give them it. They're looking for it. They're circling. They're circling.
Well, he's got to get better. There's everyone has to
doubt.
say is like Amrabat. I like the manager. We should not be moving off of him, despite the horde start. You got to give him time. I'm not saying you got to keep him if it continues at 38% win rate. I don't think you can at Manchester United. But look, he needs to kind of get a hand of his emotions in the press because it just adds to the fire that is Manchester United, and you don't need to add to the pressure at Manchester United. All right, let's get into the transfer window here. We're going to be breaking it down, and we're going to be live today at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, breaking down the window after it closed. But right now, it's still open. Ben Jacobs, 24 hours until the British transfer window shuts. And we're going to be hearing what David Ornstein has to say. Look at the highlights in the hair. Ornstein not messing around. He's ready for
Looking
deadline
good,
day,
man.
sir. I did not get my highlights in before deadline day, but we got to be thinking about it because, man, he's looking good. He's looking sharp. He's ready to talk on TikTok all day.
They've clearly got a bit of an issue in terms of whether there's a market for Andre Onana. It doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. You never know before the deadline. Maybe more plausible, you could move on Alti Bayindir. But he's playing at the moment. So, yeah, it's plausible one more comes in, and that would give them an excess of goalkeepers. But they do clearly have the issue of the Africa Cup of Nations on the horizon, and they want to upgrade in that area. That's been long understood. And so Senna Lammens of Royal Antwerp is a player they've looked at and they have an interest in. I don't think the situation has ever been as advanced as some have suggested, but let's see what develops on that front. And then, of course, there are continued reports around Emi Martínez, who they made a loan inquiry for earlier in the window. It didn't develop then. Let's see if it does now. Villa, the suggestion from them until this point has been they expect Emi Martínez to stay, despite what we saw from him at the end of last season in that very emotional scene on the pitch that looked like a departure was coming. So, yeah, there could be a bit of activity in that area for Man United. The midfield is of interest, whether there could be a last-minute loan or they stick with their current options. So, United...
Stick with the current options. Give me a break. Look, David Ornstein, he has direct links to the club. He's telling you exactly what's going on. As far as goalkeeper, there's some smoke there, but nothing really firm. Romano was coming out about Emi Martínez. Player terms agreed. I don't think that's really an issue. I think Emi Martínez' agent probably said, hey, these are the terms. United's like, fine. The question is, will Villa sell him? Will they loan him? So it's all to do with Villa. It has nothing to do with Emi Martínez. He would come to Manchester United. It has to do with at what price, and is it permanent, or is it a loan? And then Sene Lammens, as he pronounced it correctly, it's a young keeper from Antwerp. We've been I don't like this from United. I feel like you need to be assertive in the market, and United are just kind of dilly-dallying is what I would say it politely, and you need to get the keeper done. And if it's Martinez, get him. If it's Lammens, get him. Hey, EPL proven seems to be the trend. Get Martinez. And then, oh, by the way, we need a midfielder. There's a young kid from Spain with the buyout clause. Get him. Like, what are you doing here? Look at the team losing to Grimsby. Look at the midfield versus Burnley. You're good at Sir Jim. You're going to watch that and then run it back. Like, you got to be kidding me. Look at Casemiro. He can't go 60 minutes. I love Casemiro, but you got to be honest. He really has a half in him at this point. And Gary Neville said, it's like when your legs go, they go. At a certain age, his legs went and he retired. Yeah. And his legs are gone. His legs are gone, and you're going to literally say that's the guy to run the midfield for United all season. No way. He's going to get injured.
No way. No way. And also, you can't play out a game, because he was good in the first half of that Burnley game, and he faded fast. He faded like a shooting star, man, in that second half. This is what frustrates me the most is we've known this has been an issue all summer. We've known there's been interest in Emi Martínez, beginning of the window, then Lammens the last few weeks. This should have been at least Lammens. We knew we would have gotten Garnacho out. We knew there was interest in Hojlund. They should have at least gotten one of these keepers in the last week, and now you have so much to do in one day. That's what concerns me. And if you're really smart, if they're really trying to shore up shop, they should get both because they would be the perfect complement.
I'd be surprised if they got one of them.
I will be surprised if they get one of them too. But the move would have been to get both. You get Emi for today. He's your guy. Lammens is your backup. He's your future. You take the pressure off Lammens. Emi's turnkey. Emi's turnkey.
He's turnkey, obviously.
But they're not going to get a midfielder. Let me. I don't think so. Almost certainly get a goalkeeper in at a bare minimum. I didn't want Martinez, but Martinez is a dog. He's a fucking personality. He will take a lot of pressure off the defense. He's a leader. He still makes errors, but he's a good penalty saver. He commands his box well. He's not the best passer, but he's a big personality. He's a big personality.
Look at this team. Look at this team. Look at the state of this team and this club today. You have 24 hours. It's like literally Mission Impossible. You see that movie? That's what Manchester United is. Mission Impossible. You're going to spend $200 million and you're going to run it back with Bayindir and Onana and Casemiro in the middle of the park. You're out of your goddamn mind. I know you are. I know you are. And you know who's going to end up getting losing their job over it? It's going to be Ruben Amrabat who's going to lose his job over it because you cannot look at this team and look at this midfield, play Bruno out of position. He saw it. Bruno's there. He doesn't want to play in the 2. Manu's there. He doesn't want to play in the 2. Those guys are venturing forward. It leaves old man Cass wide open. And if Burnley's going to put you to the sword and you're going to need the a hair of an offside to get by, you need somebody there. You need another option. And you loaned out Toby Coyer. You got to talk about this is DOF, Director of Football at Manchester United. You can talk about why you loan out Coyer if you have Casemiro. Coyer's the perfect youngster to have on the bench right now to bring on. Ugarte, hey, it's an insurance policy against Ugarte. He's not playing well. You put him on for Casemiro. By the way, he did well when he featured in the EPL and coming on as a sub. He does good in that role. Him and Manu together is a solid option in the second half of games. And I just feel like United, the front office, is once again failing us in 2 critical areas. Let's shift to goalkeeper, sir, because I know we're fired up about the midfield, but we're not linked to anybody yet. This is dropping in the morning, so we could have a midfielder and a goalkeeper by then. Goalkeeper, we have made a meal of this. We've known this it was clear Onana, he didn't even start in the EPL. He lost his position. He only started in the final. He let in a goal and made an error in that final. It was clear he was not the man to come back because of not being able to deal him. I don't know why we re-signed Tom Heaton. That's another slot.
He had 2 errors at Grimsby.
No, of course, but we should have been selling Onana in the summer. Now we can't even sell him because think about Bayindir and Onana. Their value went down because they've been playing. You had to do this deal before the season started, and we left it. Now you can't even get rid of him. Oh, yeah, you signed Tom Heaton to an extension, so then you're going to sign another keeper. Then you have 4 of them. Why do you have 4 goalkeepers? Because you don't know what you're doing. And at a certain point, this is director of football. Roster management is important, and this team's plan was to run it back with Onana, Bayindir, and Tom Heaton. That was plan A for Manchester United. It's proven to be the worst plan ever, which everyone knew, including the American Red Devils, and is blowing up in their face, and we might have to run it with 4 goalkeepers for no reason, with none of them being able to play. Because Tom Heaton doesn't even play. Why does he take up a roster spot?
If we got a 4th, I'd be confident. I don't care about the number of goalkeepers. I just want to make sure we have a goalkeeper who can play week in, week out, and not make error after error.
It's bad roster management.
Bayindir just made an error. Onana made 2 errors before that. Bayindir made an error before that. Bayindir made an error against Arsenal in the opener. Manchester United have always run it back with 1 issue still to fix, 1 or 2 issues still to fix. And we've been doing that We've been doing that for years. We probably been doing that since fucking. Honestly, we had holes even when Fergie won the number 20 in 2013, but he was such a magician and such a genius that he was able to make it work. And then those holes just got more and more exposed. And they knew the goalkeeper was an issue. They could have made the efforts to rectify. They should have gotten Lammens in a week ago. Even if he's not the guy, he's a guy that can come in, put pressure on all these other keepers. So we're leaving it late. I think they'll do Emi Martinez because I think Villa want him out, and I think Martinez knows that he's, you're not going to get a lot of
but
chances
it's
to play
bad
in public.
roster management.
Yeah, but they've been late. They should not have waited.
can't
They
do
shouldn't
that.
have not. It doesn't matter how many you have. It just matters you need to have one that can fucking play.
It doesn't
who
matter how
can
many
be
you have.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Because you'll be able to voice. Bayern didn't cost very much. He was £4 million. You can just give him away to Turkey. And also, I'd rather have Bayern as a backup than Onana. Onana has gone bad. Like the milk's gone bad. Like
No, but if after last season you went to the market and put Bayern and Onana on the market, you probably could have got rid of one of them. Now you can't get rid of any
apparently
of them.
Onana was on the market all summer, and they couldn't move him.
No, of course, but my point is, someone would take him for something.
Would.
The whole idea is if you went straight out of the gates and tried to get rid of one, you would have gotten rid of one. I'm not saying both. And then you could have opened it up to sign one. But because we didn't make goalkeeper a priority, we're here doing it late. And that's just bad roster management. And a director of football at Manchester United has had bad roster management for the last decade. That's the reason why we had so much hopium for Jim coming in, is like they're going to fix all these roster management issues. And we're seeing them make a meal of one of the most critical positions on the field. And we got a vibes guy who can't even play, who's on the bench, which makes no sense. And for me, if you look at Lammens, Emi Martínez, that's the story. Why are we in for both? Casa apparently is available as well. Why are we in for him?
He's 50
it makes
million.
no sense. And right now, I think that the only option, and I don't love it, I do not love it, but because we have 24 hours left or less than that, Emi Martínez is the only option.
He's it.
Because the reason is our two keepers are so bad, they cannot play. And you have to have someone who's done it in the league. And that'd be unfair to sign the youngster and say you have to play day one, and you need a guy who's EPL proven day one. He's not even the ideal choice, Emi Martínez. And because we've backed ourselves into a corner, you got to pull the trigger. Even if it's $30 million to Aston Villa, you have to do the deal. And we probably won't because it'll cost too much money, and Lammens will be too late, and we'll get nobody. I honestly think we're going to sign nobody here.
If you had the preference, Lammens is the more upside, the better deal on paper. But like you said, you don't want to put a youngster who's coming from the Belgium league. He's not even coming from a top-flight league. You think it's hard coming from Portugal? How do you think it is coming from
Starting
Belgium?
keeper Manchester
Are
United?
you crazy getting bodied against City in his first game? Emi Martínez, he's got the mentality. He's got an error in him, but he's got a big personality, and it shores up one spot for at least this season. We also have this, you have some youngsters and goalkeeper that are sent on loans that are for the future as well. You need someone today. Emi Martínez is that guy. He's not ideal, but it works, and you would ultimately and absolutely feel much more confident going forward as soon as you had him in net. You're in a storm, and you have a goalkeeper that's poor. That is a hole in the boat, and you are bailing it out while you're trying to fight the storm. And that's, what, I'd rather run back the spotty midfield and fix the goalie for now. I want both, of course, but we need to fix.
You
one
have
of them.
to fix both. You have to fix both.
Yeah,
but you have to fix. Although Amram's gonna get fired.
He's gonna get fired.
But by the way, Amram will get fired because of this.
Yeah.
And like it. There's a lot of. So for me, the front office and the director of football have to be completely separate from the manager, and they have to be managing the roster. And when you look at the roster, you'd be like, why are we signing number 9 when the manager only wants to attack with 10s? Why are we not signing a goalkeeper? Who's deciding to run it back with these two keepers? Who's deciding to run it back with Casemiro and then loan out Coyer? You can totally not sign anyone in the midfield. You can't loan out Toby Coyer. There's a lot of questions here, a lot of weird decisions Manchester United are making, and I'm surprised that we're behaving the way we are because goalkeeper, you can get around the midfield one by not loaning Coyer, but goalkeeper had to be dealt with, and it had to be dealt with weeks ago. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago after the Baleba cooled, it had to be all in for a keeper. Had to be all in. You had to lock him up, and then you're looking at loans for midfielders today, and that's it. And I think that's where United needed to be, and we left too much business late, and here we are.
Classic United. We left too much late on the sales. We left too much late on the buys. Talk about moves I don't like. I also don't love this move. Let's get into it in a second. So Rasmus Hojlund is about to confirm his deal with Napoli. It's going to be a €44 million obligation to buy if they make Champions League football this year, and there's a €6 million loan fee. So it'd be €50 million, around £40 million for the young Dane. And I don't love that. I know he's gone sour. He had a good first season, a bad second season, but he's still 22. He's still 6'3". He still has pace. I think he'll do well in Italy, and I think at the end of the day, we still have one number 9. You got one number 9, and Šeško is not ready to go, so you're putting all the pressure on him. Cunha just went down, up, another player. It's like it's crazy to be like, all right, he'd be a good backup. Those two players, a Dane and a Slovenian, like going neck and neck for the starting spot at Manchester United would be good for both of them. And instead, now we have another issue. We have one number 9.
But we save a lot of money here. We have
His
the
wages
loan.
aren't crazy.
We save his wages. We get the loan fee. And this is like another Chelsea obligation to buy. Where is it really an obligation?
Right, you
Or are
never
there
know,
other
you never
terms that are going to come out if they make the Champions League? So I don't buy this. This will be good for Rasmus, right? Who's on a long-term deal at Manchester United. So if he balls out at Napoli, it will only increase his value. If they decide not to buy him, I rate Rasmus, and I rate him more now that we have Sesko in the mix and we have options.
Right.
For me, it's more attractive to I don't know how Amrabat goes all last year playing with Hojlund cannot be dropped. We're playing with a 9. We're playing with a 9. To now this season we don't play with a 9, but we paid £70 million for a 9. That to me is just like that's Manchester United right there. That's just mashed potatoes because. If we're playing with a 9 this year, you sign a 9 for $70 million, you keep Rasmus Hojlund, and you play with him every single game. You rotate.
Exactly.
Hojlund comes on the last 20 minutes. Sesko starts. That's what we should be doing. That's what United should be doing. But now all of a sudden, Sesko doesn't even get minutes, and we're only playing with 10s. We're playing with Mount and Xerxes rotating up front, and it's a whole new system, a whole new change, and it's hard when the front office is managing it this way, and the manager is managing it this way, and then you're like, here's $70 million. Why don't we use that on the midfield? Obviously, I rate Sesko, but he's got to play, and the manager has to be playing the number 9 role. So this loan is ultimately not a bad valuation. It could, who knows how it's going to turn out. I like the price. I think Napoli's a good place for Rasmus. I don't think they're going to trigger the obligation, but I hope he scores a lot for Napoli and he can come back with more confidence, or we can do a better deal with somebody else.
He's playing in front of De Bruyne, and he's playing with McTominay. He's going to score goals.
In Italy.
He's also in Italy, but he did well in Italy, and he's only gotten better, I'm sure, because he's got more years. He also handled himself with class compared to all the other clowns that were trying to get out of Manchester United. He wanted to stay at United. So I wish you luck, Rasmus. I wish you luck.
Getting into Bob's
class.
squad.
Speaking of class.
I can't even. We talked about this on the live stream.
Insane.
I can't even understand what's going on with this Antony Betis. This is one of those things where I choose to just ignore it, because it's
done, basically.
It's in the mud. I mean, they're all in the mud, and Antony is who you thought he was.
Give the folks the flyby who don't know, who aren't as
Antony
abreast.
So basically, the deal's agreed, and then all of a sudden, Antony doesn't want to take a wage cut at the last minute. Then Betis withdraws their offer because they're not going to pay Antony. But apparently, he only wanted Betis. And why this is par for the course for Manchester United and our front office is just generally that Antony, if he wanted money, should have went to Saudi Arabia. He declined that, and now he wants to go to Betis so he can play in Spain, but then he wants his cake and eat it too. And I feel like someone's got to be communicating with him or figuring out how we can get this done because this deal is lagging, and I feel like the goal is to just make Manchester United pay a severance package to make up the difference in the wages. Antony's now putting that on United. United need to hold firm on Sancho and Antony and just be like, you're training with the U18s. Like, I want to see that from this club because it's going to send a message to be like, if you want to flirt around and you want to just try to retrade us at the last second, which I'll let you know, that's not a great, doesn't say you're a great character, then ultimately you're going to be training with the U18s in a World Cup year. And I'd love to see that. I'd love to see United put their foot down and be like I do with my 5-year-old and 3-year-old, Nah, you ain't getting that. Let him whine and cry, play with the U18s, and he won't go to the World Cup.
And you have to set an example for him. You have to set an example with Antony because at the end of the day, he's one of the few players you can. Sancho, he's going. Last year of his contract, we're not going to trigger the extension. Are you crazy? We were never going to do that. We're threatening to do that. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But Antony, there's value there. He could play in Spain. But like you said, that's a great way to put it. It's like you want to have your cake. You want to make top dollar, live in Sevilla, which is a lot nicer than Riyadh. Go to Riyadh, bro. You'll get paid more. And these players that are positioning with the clubs that they want to go to get at Manchester United, we have to set an example with him. We have a 3-year contract. He has value. People would actually pay for him. His wages are high, but they're not crazy. They're not Sancho high. They're not 350, like 120 a week. So you make an example of him. Hey, bro, like Betis, we've been bending over backwards to give him a deal. The 25-euro deal that was agreed where we have this big sell-on was still a deal just to try and make it happen. And for him, you push him out. You do whatever you can to basically be like, no, dude, we're not giving you this deal. You're going to Saudi Arabia. You're going to Turkey. Those windows are open for another 8 days after the transfer window closes today. Make an example of Antony.
Yeah, I mean,
what would Chelsea do? They wouldn't be like, sure, like no.
No, United need to make it because players who want to leave, that's fine. But if you're going to be like, I will only go to this team and then you have to pay me more to play for another team, it's like you're getting to a crazy territory. But they're all colluding. They're all working together. And speaking of another player that colluded with the club to get the best deal for himself, it'll be Garnacho to Chelsea, £40 million straight up front. I think we get, what, do we get 10% of the resale here?
Yeah, 10% sell on.
And that's only of the profits. But 40 million for me, Madueke went for, I think, mid-40s plus some. Garnacho had the same, almost the same stats. It was like 50 with add-ons, a little more than 50 pounds. I think this is a 10 million pound.
No, it's a 10 million delta.
Yeah, 10 million pound discount for the fallout. It's not horrible. If we went under 40, that'd be horrible. If he balls out and goes to Madrid for 150, that is a bad deal. TBD on if he does it. But for me, United, I talked about in the live stream. There's 4 youngsters who I bought their rookie cards. I collect cards.
How's that going?
And it was Greenwood, Rashford, Garnacho, and Kobe Mainoo. 3 are gone. 1's left and wants to leave. And that's a trend for me. It's like, we used to be bringing them and they would be loyal and play. Like, you'd have the Beckham eventually leave.
Don't buy Cheetos.
You'd have Ronaldo eventually leave. But, like, that's not on all of them. There are a bunch of issues with the players, but for developing young talent, we have to fall out with Kobe Mainoo
is insane.
And so Garnacho's part of this pattern. Yeah, he's a bad boy, but I think you do need some of that in the team for the attack. I think on the fringes, you should be able to have such a good core that he's not a problem, but since United, it seems so toxic that, he has to leave and we have to get rid of these players. But I feel like if you have a good core, good culture, a lot of these players come into the fold and ultimately, will actually not be as bad as Garnacho acted. But here he is leaving for 40 million. What do you think?
I mean, you get the PSR boost, right? So it's 3x because I think he's technically a homegrown player. We bought him for $400K. We're selling him for 40 million. So it's 100 extra. But like you said, should easily be 50-55 in current market given his productivity. I think he's got like
age too.
Age, Argentina. He's got the hair. You're leaving money on the table. United didn't handle this well, right? The fallout immediately after the Europa League final. This is a player that would have been absorbed by a top Manchester United side, no problem. Ego, who gives a shit? You don't think we've absorbed young egos, kids who think that they're better than they are? That's part of the deal. That's why they become elite players. So we should have been able to kind of like take this from the chin and find a way to make Garnacho work. It did not have to go this way. Also, we did not have to play it this way. We would have gotten more. But at the end of the day, we got the deal. I think he'll do very well on Chelsea. He'll score a lot of goals. He will go on for big money to Spain. He was born in Madrid. He'll probably go back to Madrid, and that'll be that. And we'll make our 10%. So it'll be like a $45 million fee if they sell for. They sell for like 100 million pounds. And
no, I mean, like, does he? I think he's gonna have a hard time breaking into Chelsea. Honestly, I think a Napoli would be a much better. If I was Garnacho's team, I would have definitely gone outside of England. Because it's easier. Like, you go to a Bayern, he's going to come up, have more time to develop, less pressure. I think he's going to Chelsea high. Like, you look at that team, how many players they have, it's going to be really hard for him to break in. You got manager politics, a lot of managers getting sacked. I just think it's hard as a youngster to go to Chelsea. And, we'll see if he can break through. Great. If not, we shall see. I don't begrudge Garnacho. It's kind of, I wish that it didn't go this way. He obviously deserves to be kicked out based on how he behaved. But at the end of the day, he was a promising youngster and one of many that we've sort of thrown to the wayside.
No, we have the Kobe Mainoo thing is like an egg on the face. That is like not good for the brand, not good for nobody. Garnacho, you knew he was going to leave. He shouldn't be leaving this way. But like you said, be careful what you wish for. Chelsea are chewing up and spitting out youngsters. I mean, like left, right, and center. So they have a machine. He's only going to need a couple seasons to prove it. I think he has what it takes to do so. But like you said, there is a shit ton of competition.
He's either going to never play for them or he's going to literally score 20 EPL goals and everyone's going to laugh that we sold for $40 million. All right, jumping into fan questions here. Yes. Appreciate everyone getting us the fresh banter after the Burnley match. At you, Bosun. If this is the level, we may as well bring in Sean Dyche now. Maybe then we avoid the otherwise inevitable relegation fight. Horrendous performance yet again. Look, I like Sean Dyche. I think we need that type of manager at Manchester United. As crazy as that sounds.
Is he a hardo? What kind of manager is he?
You should listen to, there's I think, high performance podcast, something in the UK. He was on there, gave a great interview about like how he goes in and manages a team. And it's all about just how everyone working hard, and so he probably couldn't handle United. It's too big of a job, but that type of grit, formation agnostic, try hard, just basics, back formation to basics.
Agnostic, I like that. Flexibility.
United is just, it's about getting a tune out of the players. It's about getting them to show up. And our issue is that I honestly think if you look at the last couple of games that we've had, our issue is that the players are not playing everyone blames the formation. It's not the formation against Grimsby. It's not the formation against Burnley. It has to do with the fact that the players and being able to show up and put in together sustained efforts. Or it's like all the goals we conceded, goalkeeper errors we've also shut off. That's led to issues like Bruno passed it to Euro when he could have just cleared it. Like there's a lot of things we're overthinking it with these goals shutting off, sloppy defending, and if you got rid of that, we would be talking about a much different start to the league.
If we finished our chances, right, we'd be different position. If we didn't have the goalkeeping errors, different position. The areas we know we need to fix, midfield holes. It's we're in a storm, man. So we got to just endure as a fan group because it could have been way worse if we dropped points against Burnley.
STRSCRM02, quote, lots of chances were created today. Amrabat coached an easy win, but unfortunately the lads had other ideas. I'm starting to lean this way more and more. I'm starting to lean more on the players and the culture of this team being very soft.
Because keep being the coach.
You're right. You're totally right. And like this comes down to the Eric Ten Hag. It comes down to the Ole. It comes down to now Amorim, where I fear where we're headed. It used to be like you get a new coach, you get a bounce. Then Amrabat, we didn't even get a balance with Amrabat. That's on the players. That's on the players. That's on the culture. That's on the team.
Yep.
And like to Starscream, his point here is that Amrabat laid it out. You can't play that good against Arsenal and then not be able to repeat it against Fulham, Grimsby, and Burnley. And to me, that's on the players. Formation agnostic. This team has always found the level in the glitz and the glamour in the big matches, and we've always been unable to show up and do the lunch pail effort day in, day out, punch in, punch out. We can't get up for these. We play down to bad opposition, and that means we have a bad culture. That means we have a bad culture at this team, and that goes on the players. And there's a lot of players that have been around for a long, long time who are part of that. We're gonna let Grimsby get the best of us on the night. Like you have to know Grimsby's coming. You gotta put them under the cosh,
and you had to make the most of this performance in Burnley to kind of like wipe the slate clean. You got away with the one. It could have been totally different. It could have been worse. But like you have to know after the pressure you're on from the Grimsby defeat, you have to get a resounding victory against the Builders at home. United never make it easy on himself. So what did Ralph Rangnick? He knew it, man. He knew it. You knew as soon as he came in, he spit hot fire and he was correct. He was like, this club needs open heart surgery. We are still carrying a lot of the players that got Ole fired. That got Rangnick didn't keep his job, of course, but that was part of that too as well. And then Eric Ten Hag. So there's something corroded and corrosive at Manchester United. I think they always fire the manager, but the managers also don't help themselves.
But why is the manager under the gun? It's because the performances
like horrible.
You can't show up against Arsenal like that and not be able to repeat it. As players, it's like consistency, and I feel like if you can't get players to be consistent, any manager's screwed. And I'm starting to. The players are becoming more of the theme for me as we watch it. Yet another manager give us a 1,000-yard stare in the rain against Grimsby, and while Bruno was taking that penalty, another manager who's being hung out to dry, saying crazy things in the press already about it. And if someone else comes in, it's not going to get better. That's really the problem.
Oh, Jose wanted to get rid of Luke Shaw. That was like 8 years ago.
No, but these players are so numb to managers getting fired. They're so numb to it, and there's an issue at United. Everybody knows it. At Great Internet, embarrassing. I had a 2-2 in the prediction game. Saved by a pen. Extra bitter seeing Garnacho at Chelsea today. Manager proving nothing. Too stubborn to adjust, and we are horrible. I agree. He deserves blame too, but these players are not great. At Daniel LD, fun game to watch, but Fergie would have put in the B squad against a team like Burnley. What do you make it? We used to play the B team.
We don't have a B team.
We just go A team.
We don't have
all
a
day.
We don't even have a B team. You have to have an A team to have a B team. This team is so thin that there's not enough. We're just survival football. We're in a storm, and we're just trying to get to the next game without like embarrassing ourselves and having it be full crisis mode, having it be DEFCON 1, which it has been in Manchester United too many times over his last 5 years. Let's avoid just Hurricane 5. Right now, it's like a Hurricane 1 or 2, but like if we had dropped points, we'd be back to 5. Winds would be blowing.
Ty Kircher, in the end, a fun game because we won for the neutral heart attack city for us. Based on how we played in the first half, it was deserved, but we have to start killing games off. Got to hope Cunha isn't out too long and get Sesko an EPL start. What will it take to get Sesko to start? He should, right? You don't sign him not to start. Hojlund was starting. Hojlund started preseason, started last season, couldn't drop him. He was in the final.
He's probably trying to protect him. I think the press. He's not going to press like that front three press at the beginning of this game before Cunha got hurt and then Mount got hurt. The pressing that he's trying to do in terms of creating chances, we created a lot of chances, but then you also want that striker in the box when you get those chances, because that's what we saw against Arsenal. We were creating all these good chances from just the work rate of the front three, but there was nobody with height in the box to convert. We could have used him today, but I can see it both ways. I'm not as hard on that, but that would have been a good opportunity against a Burnley to get some minutes. But he also did play 90 minutes 2 days earlier, so it's let's keep that in perspective as well.
At D_Cole18, Jose or Ole with 5 years of time would have this team miles ahead of where we have been. When do we start backing managers over players again? Starting to see the team come together, but we're still miles off being successful. Look, it's mixed. It's mixed going to international break. And ultimately, as fans, we just got to enjoy the silence of international break. We're going to finish the transfer window. Let's hope Ineos can, break glass in case of emergency and get us a midfielder and a goalkeeper. I think it would be insane and almost a, sort of walking Amrabat to the plank if you do
Get
not.
ready.
It's going to be that.
It's going to be. They're going to get a goalie. They won't get a midfielder.
But going into the window, we're not going to get into it too much, but it's I would not have signed the players that we signed if I knew that we would not sign. So it's a lot of questions around United. There's always questions around United. There's always drama around United, but we're here. We're going to enjoy international break. The schedule for the pod is we're going to drop another pod Monday. I'm going to say September 11th. We're going to drop a pod on Monday, September 11th. That'll be international break pod. Hopefully interview coming there. We're going to talk about transfers and everything United. Get ready for the derby on the other side. I'm very excited for the fixtures we have. It's let's put our hard hats on. It's trench warfare for United already.
September
8th. Sorry, sir. We're looking at August. September 8th. It will be the international break podcast. It's going to be trench warfare here. Everyone get their shovels out, get their hard hats on. It's going to be a tough start to this season. We have a lot of tough fixtures. We're going to be getting a lot of incoming on the text threads from other fans. And United, you just have to keep the chin up, take the criticism, and fight another day.
That's it. We're here one game at a time, one match at a time. Let's try and if we go through this season and don't fire our manager, that's a great success. That means that things have gone well enough to keep
top 10 and not
top
fire
10.
him,
Yeah, I'd be fucking thrilled. I want a little bit of stability. No more storms. Let's just get through a season. Let's score some goals. Let's have something to build on. Every time you rip out a manager, you're starting over. It's takes long. Look how long Arteta has been at it. He's been at 7 years. He needed time, and they still haven't won it. So it's we need time, and we need to get.
I don't want the Arteta model for the record.
I'm just saying he has been pushing for second. He doesn't have that killer edge.
We need to get to watching good football, and
they are watching good football. Is all I'm saying.
No, we need consistent performances. We saw some of it in preseason. When you saw United controlling the game against Bournemouth in preseason, when you saw United controlling the game against Arsenal and actually creating chances, ultimately that's what we need. And we don't need this mashed potatoes vibes, beating Burnley and celebrating like we win the league. We need ultimately controlled performances that push us up the table into positions that we should be, 8th, 7th. You get beat by some good teams, but you always show up against the lower team opposition. We have plenty of time, plenty of rest. There was no excuse to show up like Fulham on a week's rest. We have to really weed out the week.
That was the biggest. Other than Grimsby, that was the biggest red flag because they outplayed us. I've
seen the plan.
And we had a week off. This was 2 days off. Created a lot of chances. Worst team I know, but that was obviously Grimsby was that was actually the worst. We're in hell, bro. We're in hell.
All right, that's it for the podcast. You like the American Devils, sign up for our newsletter, americadevils.com/newsletter. You get a free email every week in your inbox, top United stories. We're recapping transfers and everything you need to know. Also, check out our store, support us, grab some merch at americadevils.store. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment below. It helps the algorithm. We need it. Small-time YouTube channel, getting off the ground here. We love this club. We're going to be here no matter what, sir. Pain Cave FC. Give us our top $10 last 7 days.
Number 1, how you doing? Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, Dublin, Ireland, Brooklyn, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Oslo, Norway, Melbourne, Australia, Orlando, Florida, and last but not least, Charlotte, North Kakalaki, North Carolina. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. Couldn't do without you. Enjoy international break. We're going live today, like John mentioned, for the end of the transfer window. We're going to summarize United signings, ins and out, grade it. Zlatan, Obertan, give everybody the treatment, and we'll be with you all season long. Looking forward to a great season, sir. Let's avoid the crisis.